pretty light. Now we have to get off at 5 and come back at 8. So that means no dinners with our families and friends, no after-school events with our children. Every other holiday or event we have to miss, and the answer is always no, no, no. I have to throw out garbage at 8 o'clock.
Dominic Romeo is a building manager in Chelsea, tasked with upkeep and trash removal of a 60-unit building. But recently, he's taken up another role as community organizer, fighting for the rights of superintendents around the city. As part of Mayor Eric Adams' trash revolution, the time restriction for moving trash in front of buildings for morning pickup was moved from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. While the Adams administration claims that this is to fight rat infestations by reducing the time that the trash is on the street, Romeo thinks that supers are bearing the brunt of the change.
Instead of reaching out to the people who are actually involved in sanitation waste, they create these paper policies that only look good on paper, and they're not worth the paper that they're written on.
Recently, his group of supers took to the streets in front of City Hall to protest the rule changes.
That's 597 days. This regulation requires us to toss out our building's trash past 8 p.m.
Romeo believes that the city government is aware of the impact these rule changes have had on supers, but is choosing to ignore it.
I was a thorn on their side 6 months before they enacted this ordinance. I reached out to my city council member. His name is Eric Botcher, and I gave him like a good bullet point way of dealing with the rats. He said that he would hand it to the Department of Sanitation and then get back to us. And then nothing happened. He did absolutely nothing with it.
He's so disillusioned, in fact, that he's decided to run for city council next year in 2025.
And I'm doing this, just to let you know, because of how city council screwed us over, because of what they did to the supers and porters, because we were ignored in City Hall.
While Romeo is the loudest voice on this issue, part of his motivation is to speak out for those supers who are unable to. Many supers around New York City are undocumented and are hesitant to join in on Romeo's protests. Jesmond Portelli, who did not want his face on camera, is an immigrant from Malta. Despite the risk of retaliation, Jesmond has still decided to speak out.
They are lucky that the supers are not really united, because many supers are scared you attract tickets if you speak up. That's another thing. They're gonna say, oh, this guy talks too much.
Last night, Jesmond put out his trash at exactly 8 p.m., but when he arrived this morning, the trash was still sitting there, waiting to be collected. When asked for comment, Department of Sanitation spokesperson Vincent Gragnani mentioned the opportunity for supers to also set out their trash between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m., a compromise that Jesmond thinks is just as disruptive as the 8 p.m. set-out time.
I'm a single father, right? So I have to do my things. I have to clean, I have to cook, I have to make sure what my son did in school, you know? And in the morning I have to make sure he's up, ready to go out of the door. So it's a nightmare. They ruined our life.
Gragnani also mentioned that buildings can adopt containerization practices early and would be allowed to put out their trash at 6 p.m. While Romeo's building is too big to fall in the category for required containerization, he still thinks it would be impossible to opt into the 6 p.m. set-out time.
With these 6 bags, I would need 6 containers. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 containers I would need. So I'm about 3/4 away from where my property line ends.
Like Romeo's, buildings with 30 or more units will eventually be required to use large, stationary, on-street containers to hold their trash. These containers could be accessed at any time of the day and could end up alleviating some of the pressure for supers to put out their trash outside of working hours. It remains to be seen if City Hall and the Department of Sanitation change their policies because of Romeo's voice, but regardless, he vows to keep speaking out.